17 minutes past 7 o'clock, and the Estina dairy farm case will be returning to the courts. This is good news because maybe this time around we'll see some justice. In a landmark ruling, the Supreme Court of Appeal has overturned the 2023 acquittals. The court found multiple legal errors in the original trial and ordered a retrial before a new judge. Number of Gupta lieutenants and Free State government officials now face prosecution. In case you're wondering, the 280 million Rand project in Vrede in the Free State was meant to benefit emerging black farmers, but it's alleged the money was siphoned off to Gupta-linked companies instead. You remember that wedding at Sun City? You remember that the plane landed at the Waterkloof Air Force Base, and that wedding, well, it's alleged that the money was used for that. So prosecutions need to happen. Well, joining us to discuss this is Lawson Naidoo, who's the Executive Secretary of the Council for the Advancements of the South African Constitution. Lawson, good morning. Good to chat to you once again.
Good morning, Ray. Thank you very much.
Let's go back in time a little bit. How bungled was the case and whose fault was it? Lots of fingers lately have been pointed at the NPA, but there was also the judge as well who has been singled out. What's your take?
Well, I think, we've become very accustomed to loosely throwing out the word bungled every time a case is lost without any real analysis, proper analysis of what has actually happened. And this was one of those classic examples where the NPA was accused of having bungled this case, being incompetent and so on. Clearly, those with the keen eye for legal issues, saw through a lot of that initially, that the judge clearly made serious errors of law, failure to understand some basic evidentiary rules of court and so on. And these issues have now been highlighted by the Supreme Court of Appeal. So to me, it's no surprise that the NPA has won this case. The question has to be asked as to why an inexperienced acting judge was appointed in the first place to preside over a complex corruption matter.
Lawson, is this not just a sign then of our judiciary that at the moment things need to be reshuffled, redone? Because you're quite right I'll use the B word, bungle this case. For a acting judge to do this, it's not acceptable.
Yeah, but again, I don't think we should be overreacting and saying because of one acting judge having messed this case up that, we need to revamp the whole judiciary. That's an overreaction. We've got to understand we have a robust legal system in South Africa. Some cases, even experienced judges will get it wrong from time to time. We have an appeals process precisely for the reason to correct those sorts of errors. So, I would caution against overreaction on that side. But, one would expect that the judges, presidents across the high courts in South Africa will become more sensitive that these corruption matters are usually very complex issues. It's very difficult to pull together a line of evidence because paper trails don't exist so easily and so on. There's no, it's difficult to follow particularly when it involves transnational transactions and the like.
Yeah.
So, we've got to make sure that we need, and, that we use experienced judges to deal with these matters. And it's not that South Africa does not have those judges. We do. We just need to make sure the right people are appointed to the right case.
Right. Okay, from what you've seen, is there a solid case here? Because I think South Africans, we don't know the law like you do. And you're right, it's got to be a matter of law. And this is, sometimes a person gets off or they're ruled not guilty and we go, that's not fair, but it's a matter of law. From your purview and looking at this case, is there a solid case there?
Well, the NPA believes that they have sufficient evidence to secure conviction. What happened in this particular matter, Ray, was that the judge ruled that a lot of that evidence was inadmissible. And that's why she ruled against the prosecution. One is to hope that when the retrial does get underway, the NPA firstly will have repackaged that evidence. Maybe new evidence has come to light since this trial was dismissed early last year, and structure the evidence in a way that it is both admissible and credible, and convene the court. And the question needs to be asked as well as to given the importance of the case, whether there might not be an argument for a full bench, a three-person panel of judges to hear this matter, rather than just a single judge.
Yeah.
So one would certainly hope that the NPA is able to structure a case and secure conviction on at least some, if not all, of the charges.
Well, that's what we're hoping, because we want to see justice prevail. But looking at the state capture inquiry, and those volumes came out afterwards, we saw pictures of Raymond Zondo and our president standing next to those massive volumes, but yet we've had little in the way of prosecutions. Do you think we're going to start seeing a new wave of prosecutions, a new look NPA, and we're actually going to be saying, right, finally, we've seen justice?
Well, I think we all share that frustration that there have not been more speedy prosecutions of some of the, particularly what may appear to be, the big cases, the big fish. But there's a couple of points. Firstly, the NPA can't just take the information that was presented that was on the commission, copy and paste and present it in court. They've got to do their own investigations. They've got to corroborate the information that was provided there. They've got to search deeper and wider for other information to put forward a case that they believe is winnable in court. In a criminal matter, you have to, prove beyond a reasonable doubt. So there's a huge onus on the NPA. We now have the IDAC and the NPA. They have additional resources. So we certainly hope that these cases are going to be starting to come through. I don't think there'll be a deluge of them, because each case is going to be treated differently, and the timing of when the NPA feel it is right to bring those matters to court, we trust that they will. But they certainly, I think, understand and appreciate the level of frustration amongst ordinary South Africans with the slow pace of these cases, and recognize that they need to do more to bring at least some of those cases, because it is about instilling public confidence in the whole process. That firstly, that the Zondo Commission was not a waste of time, and I'm a firm believer that it was not. Secondly, that the NPA works, and thirdly, that the justice system works, and perhaps most importantly, is what we need to restore the belief in that the rule of law is still alive in South Africa, and that justice will be done.
Yeah, justice needs to prevail. Now, you spoke about the IDAC, that's the Investigative Directorate Against Corruption. I see they've enrolled 50 state capture cases and declared 133 investigations. Do they have capacity to investigate all of this? And there's been this big sort of concern about a skills base, that when it comes to financial forensics, we're not up to the job. Are they up to the job? What's your take on this?
Well, they certainly enhanced their capacity. There's been, skills brought in from the private sector. They're working in creative and innovative ways to bring that capacity into the IDAC, because these cases are often complex. And, we need to also stay in the face of the fact that the public sector does not offer the kind of salaries for these highly skilled and highly sought-after individuals with those forensic analytical skills. So, the NPA, like any other state institution, would need to be creative in terms of securing those skills.
Yeah. And I just want your take on this as well. There have been many calls for the NPA to an investigation just to see how strong the NPA is. Our President Cyril Ramaphosa said no. He'll be speaking to NPA head Shamila Batoy, get her to come around for a cup of coffee or something like that just to talk about it. But does there need to be a broader inquiry? The word infestation came out in a recent interview with Shamila Batoy.
Well, look, I mean, there have been calls for these sorts of inquiries for a while. My view is that, Shamila Batoy is probably best placed to tell us whether such an inquiry is required or not. Because again, the fixation has been on her as an individual that, she must go, she should resign. Well, she could do that. Will it change anything at the NPA? Clearly not. So the rot, to the extent that exists, does go much deeper. And so if there is going to be an investigation, then it needs to be a proper one with full powers of summons of information, a subpoena of witnesses and the like. So that if such an investigation is done by a retired judge, it actually probes the correct areas.
Yeah.
People have forgotten that some years ago, I think it was during the tenure of Mr. Nkolisi and Kasana at the NPA, that there was an inquiry that was led by retired Judge Isaac Yakub. But because they did not have a power of summons and subpoena, they were only able to scratch the surface of the issues at the NPA at the time. So I think we'd be wary to just do another exercise like that, which is not really going to identify the problem, what the solutions might be.
Yeah.
So we need to. It may be necessary, but let's tread warily for now.
Just be careful what we do. Lawson Naidoo, who is the Executive Secretary of the Council for the Advancements of the South African Constitution. Thank you so much. Yeah, perhaps this Estina case is really, really, really a step in the right direction. That's 1:49 to go.
Current events, developing stories,
tough questions.
Your voice making a difference.
This is Breakfast with Bongani Bingwa.